Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I hope everyone's having a wonderful, wonderful day and mentally strong, mentally healthy during these times. Uh, it's we have about 8 days left, but I will talk about that more when I have a special guest come on. And let me check if she's here. She's on her way. But in the meantime, how's everyone else doing? A lot of heart emojis, heart eye emojis, representing. So thank you so much for coming on today. It's. I'm just trying to do my part. And for the next 8 days, just trying to get the word out, trying to bring my platform and allow. Oh, there you are. Enough of me rambling. Let's hear the woman of the hour talk. Let me see.
Harry!
There we are. Maya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Yes, I am.
I was listening to you. You have such a calm voice.
I don't feel calm, but I thank you. I appreciate it.
You do. It's such a calm voice. I was like, okay, that's good. I'm going to try to adopt some of that.
You definitely have that. I mean, we have like 7 days left. It's like it's crazy. I'm sure the level of calmness is I don't know. I don't know how high that is, right? At this point.
Yeah, no, there is no calm. It is, I don't know, like I woke up this morning just kind of mad, like, fighting mad because of the vote last night in, for the Supreme Court. I'm like really upset about that. And so I just, the whole process so illegitimate and just rushed, right before the election. And then after the vote, the senators packed up and went home without passing any COVID relief for American families. So like I just this morning woke up like fighting mad. But yeah, no, everybody is very focused and, we're, everybody's got the adrenaline going. 7 days, the election day is 7 days away, but that's the end of the election. People are voting now. So we're really, right now trying to get people to vote early and then specifically talking to people about if they're planning to vote by mail, meaning they have a mail-in ballot, that at this point, 7 days out, especially with the ways that the Republicans have been tinkering around with the post office, drop it off in person, either at a drop box or drop it off at an official drop box or at an official government office where you can drop it off, but like take it in if you can, just to make sure it gets in and it gets counted. So we're telling people to go to iwillvote.com because you can figure out there where your local drop box is. You can also figure out what office to drop it off to make sure that you drop it off at an official location. But anyway, so yeah, there's still a lot to do, 7 days out. We're all hustling. So we're so glad to be able to have this conversation with you and for you to join us and use your platform to talk about the election and why it matters and try to get people to get out there and vote.
No, I'm so appreciative of, first of all, of all the work that you and the team have been doing, and especially now just to try and get our democracy just back in some sort of place of I don't even say normalcy right now, but just something where we can stay a little bit more calm. With the news today, it's just, the future, what that future looks like is scary. Having a 1-year-old, and what her future looks like for, and really trying to make sure, I think right now, especially how our voting system is, we have to be able to encourage people to do their due diligence, right? Just take a little extra couple of steps. Like even for me, I had to call the county because my name wasn't aligning up with my mailing address. And then finally when they did that, we're good to go. But just
Right.
making that quick phone call, and the lady that was on the phone was so sweet, and it took no longer than 5 minutes. So I think it's just important to just be sure that everything's in line, so your vote gets counted.
You are right, and you used the right word, normalcy. I mean, we need to get back to some normalcy and some competence in our government. I mean, we need a lot more than that, but we definitely need to be able to do that. I don't know, what are your, people around you talking about in terms of the election? And then somebody told me that you're actually on location filming in Canada, so I'm like, what do the Canadians say?
Oh, I feel like they're watching from above, like literally watching from above, seeing what's happened. It is, I think people are just tired.
Yeah.
People are tired. People are tired of not knowing what's gonna happen. And I think, especially now, what's on top of everyone's minds, like, how do we get past this pandemic? And but have some order and have like a little bit of direction. Our commander in chief is not really giving us any direction right now. And and listening to the two candidates, and especially Joe, just hearing his plan, and at least there's a plan. There's something that we can all at least say, like, okay, this might be the best step to move forward, and we'll figure out things along the way. But at the end of the day, I think people are just tired and a little nervous, and there's like also some excitement on the optimism. I'm like, there's been such a swell of people coming out to vote, wanting to vote, and even unfortunately, people having to wait in lines, but a lot of people are coming out and really just trying to make their voices heard.
And they're determined. They're determined. They shouldn't have to wait in those long lines. It shouldn't be like that. We need to fix that. But the fact that people are doing it and they are like, I am going to cast my vote. There is no one who's going to get in my way. That is very inspiring to see. Very inspiring to see. So yeah, a lot of people are voting early too, which I think is good.
Yeah, and what do you think is? I mean, obviously, we kind of spoke about, what do you think is at stake right now? I mean, look, there's been over 200,000 COVID deaths, and there's like 8 million cases in the United States. So I mean, what could have been done to prevent this? I mean,
yeah, it is. You are right that people are exhausted, but they're also just grieving. There's been so much loss and illness, and it's startling. And what could have been done differently is we could have had leadership, right? I mean, leadership with compassion, leadership with humility, leadership with integrity. So we could have had leadership, and we didn't. And I think this president has had multiple opportunities over the last few months to step up and demonstrate that leadership, and repeatedly has failed. And you've already articulated what the consequence of that is, in terms of how many hundreds of thousands of people have lost family members, and how many, millions of people are now sick. And so going forward, we actually need leadership that can, control this pandemic. Joe was on TV today, talking about that, and I think demonstrating great leadership. The other day, he did another speech laying out the pandemic plan and what he and Kamala would do if they're elected. And it's funny because even though I obviously have a personal stake in an investment in like making this happen, in terms of not, a familial relationship, but also for the country. When I watched that, I had that feeling of like, oh, wow, I really want them to win, because I need somebody to get on top of this pandemic. Like, just as an American, I felt like we've been quarantining, not seeing friends and family, and let alone people, who've gotten sick and who've passed away. And anyway, so they have a plan, which they would execute on day one, which would, make treatment available to everybody if they've gotten sick, make testing available and free to everybody, to make sure that people have, access to vaccines once, we have a vaccine, and make sure that that's being distributed in a way that gets to everyone who needs it, and especially people who need it most. And so I think that if what people are looking for is some sense of confidence that we're going to get on top of this, there's only one way it's going to happen. This guy has had 4 or 5 months to show us that he could do something, could control this, and they've basically thrown their hands up. And so I agree with Joe and Kamala that they've forfeited their right to be able to take care of this. We need new people to do it. But the one thing I would also say is, you know, for our community, for the AAPI community, we should have a real sense of urgency about this, because if you look at what's happening, the AAPI community is one of the communities on the front lines as essential workers, right? Nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, I mean, on the front lines, caretakers. The death rate, for example, among Pacific Islanders is 2.5 times the rate of white Americans. In terms of essential workers, Filipino nurses are 4% of the nursing profession. They are 30% of the COVID deaths. Okay, so, and I'm not even getting to the fact that this administration wants to take away healthcare and is in the Supreme Court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act and its coverage for pre-existing conditions. 2 million AAPIs got healthcare, new from the Affordable Care Act. So there's so much at stake for our country, but there's also so much at stake and so much urgency, you know, for our community as well. And I just think that who you elect matters in terms of whether or not they have, to your point, plans, whether or not they're going to demonstrate leadership. I mean, it really does, you know, make a difference. And it doesn't help that we have a person sitting in the Oval Office who has been throughout this thing, not only demonstrating the leadership around controlling the pandemic, but making kind of racist slurs, like talking about Kung flu and Chinese virus. And, you know, I wonder, you know, also for you, I mean, what does that make you feel? How does that make you think about what's at stake in this election when you hear that?
I have a lot of thoughts about that. And you know, before getting to that, there's an interesting comment when you were talking about testing and how it's not free, and that someone from another country was like, your tests aren't free in your country, question. It's like, that's crazy, you know? And so, I mean, but going back to your point of just the not understanding of the damage that is being done, not even to your own people in your own country, especially the API community, when you say those things, you know, Kung flu and Wuhan virus, you know, and the amount of attacks that have happened. I believe somewhere from March to August, there's about 2,500 hate crimes and that were reported. And a lot of them were also older and elderly that can't defend themselves, and also a lot younger, under 20. So it's just been insane to see these videos of these attacks just all trickling down from the things that our commander-in-chief are saying. So it's just like, I think at the end of the day, like, talking to the people who are out there listening, is like, do those things matter to you, right? At the end of the day, and if they do, that's why I think we're not calm right now, and it's important for us to just try and get people to really understand what's at stake here, especially with the AAPI community. As you know, you probably know better than I do, that the voice that they can have in this election, and kind of, you know, they haven't been as strong in voting numbers, but this particular year they've been coming out. I believe in Texas it was like 300,000 APIs already voted, right? That's incredible. So I hope we can continue this and use this momentum to just get our voices and someone on the table to be able to hear us, understand our experiences, and speak for us to at least voice those experiences to policymakers.
I'm so glad you mentioned the voting piece, because there's so much power in the AAPI community and you are right, people are turning out. It is also the case that we need people to turn out, because that vote could really be the margin of victory in this election. I mean, literally could be the margin of victory. In Pennsylvania, which we lost in 2016 by less than 1% of the vote, the AAPI population there is 4% of the vote. In Michigan, which we lost by less than 0.5% of the vote in 2016. The AAPI population is almost 4%. And literally, I could go through state after state that's, going to be critical in this election. Every state matters, obviously, but in terms of what people consider key swing states, the AAPI vote could actually make the difference. And so it is, every single vote is going to count. Every single vote is going to matter. And so I'm glad that you're feeling and seeing the groundswell of engagement. And we need that to only grow over the next 7 days, because it could be the winning difference in all of this. I wonder, what are you saying to, sometimes people say my vote doesn't matter, or, I don't, I'm just not that, excited, or, I don't know if I'm going to vote. What are you saying to people? One of the things I've been happy to see is that so much, also the younger voters are really turning out. But what are you saying to people who maybe are not as quite, there in terms of voting?
Well, I think right now, I think that's what we're seeing, a number influx in numbers and people participating. I think they're sharing their stories, and I think right now, especially this year, how AAPI community is figuring out, like, well, what has the government ever done for us, right? In a lot of ways. And that's the question. It's like, or if anything's going to change, because our voice is never heard. Well, sometimes we have to think, why isn't it heard? Because you haven't voted, right? Or you haven't come together as a community and use those power in numbers, and right now, if they start seeing these numbers in the AAPI community, they're gonna pay attention, and policies will start to change, and at least we can say we have a little more engagement in politics. I think historically it's been, really difficult from our past in America, but right now is different. Right now is we have to live in the present and know that we can change the outcome of this election. And that is a powerful thing to have, to show that there is a power in this community that has been really invisible for a long time.
And can really flex a muscle right now, just in terms of this election. And, building on that, it's also the case that we deserve to have leadership that respects the community, that will fight for the community, that represents the community. And I know we don't have that in this White House. We've already talked about some of the things that this White House has said about the community. But when you look at Joe and Kamala, I can assure you that
was my next question. What are they gonna do for the?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and one of the things I would say, and it's not just because of Kamala, because I say that because Joe is as committed, during the Obama-Biden administration, since we've been talking about Supreme Court and judges, they appointed more AAPI judges during their time in office than all of the previous presidential administrations combined. Okay, so this is not a new commitment for Joe Biden, and it's certainly not a new commitment for Kamala. So I can assure you that the AAPI community would have not only a seat at the table, but be part of setting the table in a Biden-Harris administration. But they've put out a bunch of plans. They're on the website, joebiden.com, that are both about the entire country and all of the, kind of communities that we're living in, but also targeted specifically to the AAPI community. And I know we're going to run out of time, so I'm not going to go through everything, because there really is like a very long list of things. But just to give a couple examples, one in particular, because I just did not too long ago a roundtable with AAPI small business owners. Joe and Kamala are talking about investing a lot more capital in small business owners and entrepreneurs to be able to start and to grow their businesses. It is we have a very entrepreneurial community. So it is something that is beneficial toward prosperity. But importantly, after this mismanaged COVID pandemic, what I learned in talking with these entrepreneurs, 400,000 small businesses have permanently closed as a result of the pandemic. Those businesses are disproportionately people of color entrepreneurs. And so Joe and Kamala's plan is about, infusing money into businesses because we know they're an engine of the economy, an engine for employment, but with a focus on people of color businesses, with an understanding that we were also disproportionately impacted in this circumstance. And so I could go plan after plan. We've talked about some of the kind of racist attacks, hate crime type situation that the community is facing. They have plans to deal with that. We've talked about, healthcare, access to healthcare, health inequities. They have plans for that. So you really could go down the line immigration, in terms of how this, we both come from, immigrant parents. Immigration and what this administration has done, it will be a completely different story under a Biden-Harris administration. So all these plans are on their website at joebiden.com. But the point is they have plans. And the plans are not just about how do we get back to pre-Trump. The plans are about how are we better even than we were before, understanding that some of the things that are impacting our community were pre-existing and that we need to be better than we were before. And so I think of this election as not just about what are we voting against, what are we afraid of, what are we tired of, but what do we aspire to?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yes.
What is our aspiration? And I see this as a clear choice that when you're talking about, yes, getting back to normalcy, as we talked about, and confidence, but really when you're talking about wanting more than that and aspiring to being better than that, I mean, the choice really is, it's very clear. There's no comparison.
That's beautifully said, and so glad to hear that, because I think and for someone asked, like, what's AAPI community? It's Asian American Pacific Islanders. So I mean, it's making sure to hear these things that are hopefully going to be implemented and that has a plan, and especially I think going, like, what would you say to the young voters right now that are hearing this, or maybe voting for the first time, or trying to help their parents, that those are powerful votes as well. I mean, it's a lasting impact on the generations ahead. And I have a daughter that I'm thinking about, and this is what I'm voting for, right? And what her future is really going to look like, because it's not just about really the next 4 years. It's really about the next 10, 15, 20 years that we're voting for right now. Exactly. That is all at stake, right? The immediate short term and the long term. And congratulations on your. Thank you. Well, wait, hold on. I read that you are a grandmother. What? Is it of two or? I have two granddaughters. Their ages 2 and 4. Thank you. You look wonderful. You look like you. Well, we can just end this whole conversation on that note. We can just end it on that note. Oh man. Yeah, we drop that skincare. Drop that skincare. I know, right? But like you, it's like about their future. It really is. We need a government that actually believes in science, and that we have a problem with climate change that needs to be addressed. We need to get the pandemic under control. We need to be able to have affordable college to be able to send these kids off to school. There's so many things about, your child's future, my grandkids' future, about everyone's future that, is at stake and on the ballot in this election. So we just got to get this thing done, So you keep telling people these next 7 days to vote early. Yes. And if they're going to do a mail-in ballot, fill out a mail-in ballot, to drop it off instead of putting it in the mail, and to go to iwillvote.com. And then I guess I would, other than liking to end it on the note about me, being a decent looking grandma, say we want more people to join the campaign over these last 7 days, because we still are talking to voters and still, trying to get out the vote. And the way to do that, phone bank, exactly. Phone bank, people can text if they don't like to phone. They want to text. We got a program for everybody. Oh, yes. Yes, here's the information. I'll say it right now. We just say text WIN, WIN, win to 30330 you can join the campaign through that way. And and thank you so much, Maya, for this. I think it's really important. Hopefully, a lot of people can find some great tidbits to just get them a little more motivated. I think the 7 days is truly, I think, one of the most important, because I think everyone's just going hard, and I think we need to go just as hard to see what the future is going to look like, and hopefully bring some hope back to our country.
That is very well said, and that is the note that we will end this on. And then tell the Canadians we're working on it.
Yes. They're looking from above, and hopefully we can look in the same eye line and be like, we're good.
All
right,
right,
thanks,
talk to
Maya.
you soon,
Have a
Harry.
wonderful
Bye.
day. All right, bye.
Thank you.